Well, the Celtics don't exactly let the good times roll. Struggling with prosperity this postseason, they're just 6-8 after wins, with Jason Tatum scoring going down in those 14 games. Now, these Celtics are the Big Sean Celtics. One night take an L, then the next night bounce back. 7-0 following a loss this postseason, and in those games, Tatum puts up over 30 points a game. As we bring in the incomparable Stephen A. Smith joining us here courtside. You just saw the trends, right? I mean, Boston's undefeated after loss. You expect that trend to continue tonight?
I wouldn't be surprised by it, but to say I expect it, I think that's going a bit too far. I think that Steph Curry has clearly been the best player in this series, and when you take into account the fact that the Golden State Warriors won Game 4 in a sensational fashion that they did, with Steph Curry exploding for 43, shooting the ball so effectively, figuring out seemingly how to thwart Boston's defense, you're Ime Udoka. You're going to have to come up with a different strategy instead of dropping off in coverage and what have you. You can't do that against Steph Curry. Let's also not forget the fact Klay Thompson scored 8 big points in the fourth quarter. They were pivotal points because Steph Curry didn't score in the fourth quarter until more than halfway through that quarter. And so we got to take all of those things into consideration and see that Steph Curry is who he is, that Klay Thompson showed flashes of what he could potentially be as a series wanes, and you're getting the level of production that you've got from Andrew Wiggins. It would not surprise me at all if Golden State was to be the first team this postseason to defeat the Boston Celtics after the Boston Celtics had incurred the loss. I'm looking for Golden State to win Game 5, but make no mistake about it, Boston is still a legit, serious threat, and the Golden State Warriors had damn well better win this game if they want to win this series.
Oh, man, it would be tough to have a closeout opportunity in Boston. Golden State 10-1 in the postseason here at Chase Center, the only loss coming in Game 1 against the Celtics. Any reason for Ime to maybe potentially defend Steph Curry differently? Any panic there on the Celtics side, or do you sort of just keep doing and riding the ship the way that they've been going?
Well, you don't want to use the word panic, El. The problem is that one of the superstars in this game, the greatest shooter that we have ever seen, is averaging 34 points a game on 50% shooting and 49% shooting from three-point range. Those numbers would indicate you need to guard him differently, because whatever you've been doing thus far isn't working, despite the fact that the series is tied 2-2. You've got to make adjustments. What does Steve Kerr do? He's a 3-time champion as a head coach. He made adjustments. Draymond Green was struggling a little bit. He wanted to go small. You put Gary Payton Jr. up in there. You put Otto Porter Jr. You shoot 63% from three-point range. Every single point he's made this series is on three-point shooting. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you got to pay attention to that. The fact that Kerr made those adjustments. Udoka, he has to make these adjustments as well. If he does that, who knows what it could do for them.
Yeah, Udoka keeps saying, it's just us. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. It's not anything. And win 2 straight. Certainly, that guy might will them to that. Or will it be Boston prevailing and heading back home with a chance to clinch number 18? We will soon find out as we officially welcome you from the floor of the Chase Center into Sports Center. I'm Elle Duncan. He's Kevin Nagandi. All right, Kev. June 13th, it's not Friday, but June 13th has been horrible historically for the Warriors. 6 years ago to this day, it was LeBron James and the Cavs in Game 5 winning, right? We all know what happened after that. 3 years ago, it was the Raptors clinching their first title on the Oracle floor. The final game there, and of course a game that Klay Thompson tore his ACL. Needless to say, bad juju on June 13th, and Golden State looking to buck that. We will preview tonight's action with all the biggest names in the NBA coming up.
Elle, as you mentioned, there's no place like the home, though, for the Warriors, a place where they have only lost once this postseason. That was Game 1 of these finals against the Celtics. Let's get you ready. We're just under 3 hours away from the start of Game 5 as the Warriors and Celtics have gone back and forth to make this a best of 3. Warriors holding a 10-1 record this postseason at the Chase Center. But the Celtics, they've been road dogs, a fantastic team away from home during the playoffs. The trio of Steph, Klay, and Draymond won their 19th NBA Finals game together in Game 4 with another dub. They'd have the most finals wins by an all-NBA trio in the last 50 seasons. Meanwhile, the duo on the other side, Tatum and Brown, they've combined to score 1,077 points this postseason, the most by a duo each 25 or younger in a single postseason in NBA history, passing Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in Game 4. Warriors, though, they're 3-1 in Game 5s under Steve Kerr, including the 2015 finals when they won the NBA title. Teams to win Game 5 with the series tied at 2 go on to win the championship 73% of the time. Elle?
Certainly a pivotal game. SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage, as we're joined by Brian Windhorst, as we have been for this entire series. And Windy, I said the Steph Curry game, 43 points on Friday in Boston. He was fantastic. How concerned are the Celtics about how they're going to defend him tonight?
I am giving you the answer that I've been told, but I am surprised.
Okay.
They are unbothered. They believe that their defensive strategy is working. The Warriors are averaging about 10 fewer points per game compared to the Western Conference Finals. They're shooting about 9% less. They don't think that they've lost Game 4 on the defensive end. They think they lost it on the offensive end, where they had 16 turnovers and had a bunch of empty possessions, especially late in the game in that crunch time. They are willing to stick with this general defensive strategy in giving Curry space. In the first 2 rounds, they did a good job of tiring out the star players. They tired out Giannis Antetokounmpo. They got to Jimmy Butler, who re-aggravated a knee injury. This could possibly be what they're doing here, is trying to tire out Steph Curry. But unless they're putting up a smokescreen, El, and usually they don't, they usually tell it like it is, I don't think they intend to change their strategy on Curry, and I think we could see more big-time Curry performances.
Yeah, we saw there they committed 16 turnovers, and when it comes to the Celtics, that means they're going to lose. In fact, both of their losses in this series have come when they've had at least 15 turnovers. Brian Windhorst coming back a little later. Let's get it over to Kevin.
El, thank you so much from the Celtics. Let's go to the Warriors. Kendra Andrews covers that team and joins us now for much more from the Chase Center. Kendra, all right, it's been an up-and-down series here, not just for the Celtics, but for Draymond Green. Even when he's contributing like he did on Friday night, he still shot 1 of 7 from the field. He was benched during that 4-minute period where the team turned things around. They were down by 5, then they were up by 3. What are the Warriors saying about what they want to get from Draymond tonight specifically?
Well, Kevin, something that Steve Kerr said he thought was overlooked from that Game 4 was that Draymond was actually able to make a good impact late in that game as he was put in and then pulled from the game back and forth depending on if the Warriors were on offense or on defense. But look, Draymond Green understands that he has to be better on both ends of the floor. He says, I understand that everything I bring this team, it's about my energy, it's about my force, competitiveness. And Steve Kerr said, yeah, look, everyone's making too big of a deal of Draymond's scoring or lack thereof because what the Warriors need from Draymond is his defense, is not his scoring. So the Warriors, they're not too afraid or not fretting Draymond's performance as long as he can carry over what he figured out in that fourth quarter late in Game 4 and apply it to all of Game 5.
He is beyond the box score. We need to see the defensive effort for the Warriors if they want to take Game 5. Plenty more on Draymond's role and impact coming up.
7-0 in these playoffs after a loss, and the Celtics have a better road record, Mike, than a home record. You're going to be there. To whom are you giving the edge in tonight's game?
Tony, if there's an edge, I'm still going to give it to the Warriors, who are 10-1 at home in the playoffs, but that one loss was to the Celtics in Game 1.
Yeah.
So the Celtics know how to win here at Chase Center, just down the street. And look, also you mentioned the Celtics are 7-0 after losses. So they have rebounded. They have responded well to these things. But, Tony, I just think, as you think, I think we're pretty the same on this series and how we interpreted things going into it. We both think the Warriors are just a slightly better team, that their experience really matters. It resonates when we're examining it. Here's the other thing, Tone. Boston's so bad in close games, in clutch time, crunch time, whatever you want to call it. The Celtics are not good there. They haven't been good all regular season. They haven't been good in the playoffs. And some of these games, Tone, there have been a lot of blowouts. They're going to come down to that. Do I expect Steph Curry to have 40 or more points tonight? No. I expect Boston's defense to respond, to have looked at things over the past 2 days they can do to slow him down. But there are other Warriors. They're a 3-time championship team. Draymond Green may want to report for duty and actually play. He did have 8 assists in game 4. But, Tone, I expect the Warriors tonight to put forth a full team ensemble effort and win this game.
Yeah. I'm not sure I agree with you. I mean, I think I agree with you on the bottom line, but this game to me feels like Game 1. And Game 1 was a game that Boston won. I don't think that home court means anything because both teams are 1-1 at home. Normally, Mike, in a 5-game series, if it's 2-2, I would almost invariably say that the team that wins Game 5 is going to win the series. And historically, that's true 73% of the time. But if the Warriors lose tonight, I still think they could win 2 in a row because I've seen them win 2 in a row. You mentioned that something might happen in a close game, but there haven't been any close games at all.
No,
and so
not really.
Nobody has snuck out a game in the last minute or so. So I will take the Warriors tonight without any particular conviction.
Right.
You mentioned Draymond Green, and let me get to this. Draymond Green, where has this guy been? He's got 17 points in 4 games. That's awful for somebody you think is going to go to the Hall of Fame. People talk about how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have to score a lot of points, how Klay Thompson and Steph Curry have to score a lot of points. This guy's got, what about this guy? I think, Mike, if he scored 10 to 15, I think if he scored 10 to 15, they could win comfortably.
They don't
really?
need, but Tom, they don't need it, and they're not going to get it.
He gets
he
no
needs to
points.
defend. He needs to push the pace.